welcome to another episode of the Anti-Self-Help Guy. If you have never had therapy, then this is the episode for you. We're going to be jumping to the other side of the table and actually speaking with somebody that has had therapy and knows what it is like from a personal perspective. So, Chiara, tell us, what kind of challenges have you faced?
Yes. So before starting my therapy journey, I was someone who was struggling a lot with anxiety, low self-esteem, and imposter syndrome. So I would say these were my top three issues that I wanted to work on therapy. But of course, there is more. Maybe we can unpack it together in this interview.
So, overall, how long have you had therapy, and what does therapy mean to you after that time?
I've been in therapy for 4 years. Then I had a 1 year gap, and then I started again recently, actually. Therapy for me is like the gym for your psyche. So I go to the gym regularly, I work out on my body, and therapy for me, it's a way to work on my mental health.
So, take us back to your life before therapy and any potential triggers that you would like to reveal.
Yeah, I was a young woman back then, and I'm used to do all of the things on my own. So I felt this huge pressure and responsibility that I always have to succeed. I always have to be on top of things. I always have to do things right and take accountability of my life, which, of course, all sounds great, but it comes with a high price because a lot of huge responsibilities were put in my shoulders at a very young age. And that caused me to lose a little bit myself in the process and doubting myself, having a lot of anxiety when things didn't go as planned. Also, I was comparing myself way too much with others. And I think I was also lacking empathy. So I was struggling to relate to people and understand the other person's point of view. So, yeah, from outside, my life looked really successful. And I am very happy and proud of my success. However, yeah, the price to pay was too high. And yeah, and then thanks to the therapy, I'm not saying that these things are gone from my life because that's not the goal of the therapy, but I handle much better situations that were triggering me in the past. So I would say that most of the triggers were coming when I felt attacked on my self-esteem, when I felt compared to others, and when I didn't feel appreciated and loved. These were my top triggers, I would say.
Was there a moment that you said to yourself that you just wanted to change?
Yes, one of my best friend, she's a therapist herself, and she has been studying therapy then. So she encouraged me to seek for help. But I have to be honest, I remember I think it took 2, 3 years before I actually reached out to a therapist. So yeah, I remember that she was worried for me, of course. As a professional, she could see all of those signs. And I think it's when she told me these things will not disappear from your life like that, but they will help you living a richer, healthier, and happier life. So yeah, that's the moment when I started to think, okay, I really want to do this.
What does it actually feel like to be carrying anxiety low self-esteem, imposter syndrome?
It's a horrible feeling, to be honest. It's about waking up with your heart racing and feeling overwhelmed with the long to-do list that you have to do on your own, and then overthinking, second guessing yourself, overthinking all of the overthinking what others are saying about you, or overthinking every meeting at work or every conversation what you had that day, and feeling extremely tired and as if your mind is not properly resting, and again feeling the pressure and the responsibility of your life on your own. Yeah, it's quite a horrible feeling when this is your everyday life. Another thing that I think was also challenging me was this spiraling down. So even though everything was good in my personal life, if I had a bad day at work, then I will bring this bad energy in other aspects of my life and the other way around. So if something was wrong in my personal life, then I will spiral down at work with my friends. So yeah, this were what was this is what I was carrying before I started therapy.
What was the actual trigger going from dealing with it to actually doing something about it?
I was having relationship issues with my at that time boyfriend, and I wanted to be a better partner for him, for me, for us. So at the same time, I was changing career. I was stepping into a totally different industry, totally different profession. And I thought it would be too much for me to have a tough situation at home and then a totally new environment at work. And of course, a new space where, as a high performer person, I had to prove myself in my mind. So yeah, these two situations in my life were the trigger that I need support to go through this tough time. It was also COVID. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, so I didn't have much access to my friends either, face to face. So I decided to start online therapy at that time.
Did you have any expectations about therapy, and were your expectations met or not met?
I didn't have expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I thought that, again, as a high performing person, I thought that, okay, the therapist is going to teach me a method and then I'm going to apply to my life and this is going to fix my problems. But of course, this was not my therapy journey at all. And I would say that it was nothing what I thought it was. We covered topics that I would never expect we will go to that part of my life. So in that sense, no particular expectations, but the outcome was nothing what I thought it could be.
Therapy comes with a price tag. What was your own justification for investing in it?
For me, it was this is an expense I need to invest in myself. And I believe that every investment that you do in yourself is the best one and the most rewarding and the, how to say, the one that you get highest return on investment, if we may say so. So yeah, probably this is what made me want to invest on it.
Let's demystify the therapy experience a little bit. What was your first session like? Was it what you had expected?
No, not at all. I expect, I mean, my first therapy session, it was this discovery call, you know. So my therapist told me, let's have a discovery call. It's free. Let's chat and let's see how you feel. So I kind of had a free chemistry call, if we want to call it this way. She told me, first question was, why are you here? Why did you seek therapy? And why are you here? And then I explained that I had relationship issues at home, and I was going through this huge change in my career. And because I felt like I was having a lot of anxiety, self-esteem, and imposter syndrome, which, by the way, these terms, I learned them later. So I explained them, how I was feeling, and then she explained me. She gave a name to those feelings and situations. And then I told her that my best friend is a therapist herself, and she encouraged me to seek support in this delicate phase of my life. And I remember that I mentioned to her my work, my boyfriend, my friends, my hobbies, but I did not mention at all my family. And she asked me, why? Do you have a family? Do you have parents, siblings? How are they connected to your life? And I remember I told her, I don't have a good relationship with them, but they have nothing to do with this. They are left out from the picture. They are not part of my life. So I don't want to talk about them, and I don't see why we should talk about them. So I was very with this closure, close mentality towards my family. And I remember that she said, okay, sure, we will see about that. So yeah, but I would say for the first sessions, it was mainly me talking. She wanted me to open up and talk about my life. And then slowly she started to squeeze in and there some questions about my family. And then we did a huge work. And I learned that it all starts with your family. So my assumptions were wrong.
What was the biggest surprise you had in your process?
My biggest surprise was when I started to put limits with people and how good it felt. Because putting limits with people, it's always something that gives us a lot of anxiety, gives us a lot of fear. We are afraid to disappoint the other person we are putting limits with. But when I learned how to do it and when I started to do it, it felt so good that I've been thinking, why didn't I do this before, you know? And I realized that I'm not disappointing anybody here. And actually, if I don't do it, the only person I'm going to disappoint is myself.
Mm.
So this was definitely my biggest surprise in therapy.
Boundaries are an interesting one because everybody, a lot of people know that they need to set greater boundaries. What would you say to somebody that you felt needs to set boundaries? What would be one takeaway you could give them?
Interesting question. I would say to try with baby steps, because try small, try little by little, and you will notice how you will notice the difference in the quality of your life step by step. And then when you get more confidence, you will do it more often and with more courage.
So, what do you remember most vividly about your therapy sessions?
I think I remember at the beginning, I remember I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed to share these problems. I felt ashamed to describe my issues, and I felt ashamed when I described the environment I grew up. I grew up in a dysfunctional environment, if we think about mental health. So I was very ashamed to describe that and talk about that, because somehow I felt like it was my fault, even though rationally I know it's not. But it felt very, yeah, the first therapy sessions were very full of shame from myself.
And how did you detach yourself from that shame during the sessions?
The therapist was very good in that sense. She was telling me how normal this is, how many other people experience that, and how what I was describing made sense to her, of the person I became and the person I was before the therapy. So, and I think what helped me was also that she made me feel understood and seen, and as if she still loves me. She's still there for me, despite despite my harsh words. So step by step, I started to feel like, she's right. I didn't do anything wrong. This is not my fault. There is no shame from my side to talk about this. And that's how I detached myself.
What was the moment that you actually felt safe in this therapy session? Was there a particular trigger, or was it something that took time?
I'm a very cautious person. So, yes, it took time. I think I cried in therapy after 2 years, and I was going every week. By the way, I've been 4 years every week to therapy. And I remember that my therapist, she was happy. She said, "Ah, nice. Finally, you're crying. Finally, you are going out of your shell." And it took 2 years, but we made it. You're now crying. So that's when I started to feel safe, that in this space I can really be myself. And I remember after this episode, then it changed. The therapy changed. It became more, I was more vulnerable and more honest with her. So, surely that was one episode I clearly remember.
Now, let's talk about the emotional journey of therapy. What did the work look like in therapy?
It was a journey. I went through different phases. I remember that my therapist wanted me to talk a lot at the beginning, but there was one point when she said, "Okay, now enough talking. Now let's work on these issues. Let's work on these triggers." And she gave me exercises. And she also, when I was talking about episodes at work, or yeah, I actually, now that I remember, my therapy was heavily focused on my work and my career. So when we were talking about episodes from work, she will help me unpacking them. So we will unpack them together. And she was telling me, I know you feel this way. I know that you don't feel seen. You don't feel valuable. You don't feel like you're doing enough. You constantly compare yourself to your colleagues. But at the same time, you are the one that all of the colleagues go to when they have a problem, when they have to open up, when they need a solution. And she made me realize, why don't you see these things? And if everybody comes to you because you are the solution person, it means they value as a person, they value as a colleague, they value your opinion. So why are you still doubting yourself? Why do you still have imposter syndrome at work? Also, the job environment where I was working was probably not the best for me at the time. I was working in a very small company, and I was the only woman in the team. And back then, I had a lot of issues relating with male colleagues, a lot of insecurities, a lot of a lot of self-doubt when I was relating myself to them. So that's why I was second guessing everything what was happening at the office. And I was so busy second guessing myself that I couldn't see these dynamics. So I remember together we will unpack these episodes from my work and the episodes at home with my boyfriend and the episodes of my past. So this is definitely what helped me during my therapy journey.
I know that you're not a therapist, but you're somebody that keeps saying that you've got or had imposter syndrome. What is it to you?
Imposter syndrome is when you feel like no matter what you do, you're never enough. You're never enough for the situation at work. You're never enough for your family. You're never enough for your friends. You're never enough in your romantic relationship. And no matter how hard you try, you still feel this way.
When you were having therapy, were there any moments that you wanted to quit?
No, I have to say no. Even during the difficult times, I think it helped me a lot to have this very good friend of me who is a therapist herself, and my therapist herself. We had a very good chemistry. So I felt very safe with her. I felt seen, I felt understood. And even during the difficult times, I felt like this is good for me, it's a good investment. Step by step, I could see the process. And actually, I remember when she told me that she saw me ready to do a little bit less aggressive therapy because we were doing every week. And I remember when she suggested every 2 weeks, actually, I felt scared. I felt really scared. I felt like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know I can do this. So yeah, no, I would say that if this is how I was feeling, definitely I wouldn't second guess therapy or wanting to quit.
Hmm. During therapy, what was the most uncomfortable part about it?
I would say it was doing the inner work. After the session, thinking about what we just discussed and doing this self-examination. And I remember I was so scared when I realized what I had to do in practice to go over these issues. So that was very uncomfortable.
Did your therapist challenge you, and how?
Yes, she did. Many times she challenged me to see another point of view of the situation when again, because I had a very strong imposter syndrome, then I was sure that I wasn't enough. I was sure I was not up to my role. I was sure I was less compared to my male colleagues. And she challenged me to see another point of view, unpacking the episodes together. And then she challenged me to stop being such a high performing and perfect person. I remember she said something very wise, that she said, if you are too perfect, people will struggle to connect with you. because they will see you as a mirror, right? We all see people as mirror. And of course, if you see a person who's always perfect, you struggle to relate to this person. You struggle to connect. It doesn't seem real, or even worse, it reflects and it makes you feel bad about yourself. So yeah, she challenged me to be less serious, more fun, more easygoing, sharing more about my failure, sharing more about my mistakes, being more open. And again, that was very scary. But I tried little by little with little episodes. And I feel like now I'm the most transparent person in the room. I have no problems talking about if I made a mistake at work, I openly share it. If I feel like I didn't handle the situation well, I take accountability and I don't try to hide it just because I have to look perfect for other people.
During your therapy process, was the healing just slow, or did you have these aha breakthrough moments, and how did they happen?
Yeah, I think it was quite a journey, I would say. And at the beginning, I couldn't recognize this aha moment. I remember again, we will unpack it together with her, and then she will help me understanding, hey, but your boss kind of praised you here, right? And then I was like, oh, really? I was so focused thinking about what I did wrong that I didn't see this compliment coming from him. Or same in my relationship. So I would say, yeah, there has been many aha moments. The most important was probably, again, if we think about the work, when I started to put limits at work with my colleagues and my boss. And yeah, I started to have these challenging conversations with my boss. So I will open up about things that were not making me happy in the workplace, or about my role, about my goals, about how he was behaving with me. So yeah, that was a huge step, because before I would never dare to say something about my needs at work. And then I learned how to do it. And I was lucky that my boss, my former boss, he is quite emotionally mature person. And I remember he welcomed this feedback. He actually thanked me for sharing that. So he also contributed to create a safe space for me to talk more about these difficult conversations. And I remember he took accountability for his wrongdoing, or my role, my goals, my career setup in the company. And together we try to find a compromise. So yeah, and again, it felt really good, and it felt safe, and it felt like this is something I should do more often.
So you've been doing therapy for 4 years straight, and then you had a break, and then what made you come back to it?
Yeah, I recently started again, despite I've been for 4 years straight, and I had this year gap, which was actually my therapist's suggestion to see how I handle it on my own. And of course, she will always be available for me if I needed something. Now I am in a different phase of my life. So when I did therapy, I was in my mid-20s. Now I'm entering my 30s, and I have new situations, new challenges. And again, I see that therapy is like the gym of your mental health. So just like the gym, when you work out on your physical health, you should go regularly through all of your life if you want to have a healthy body. And same with therapy. You can have gaps here and there, but it's the consistency that pays, and it's something that it's good for your mental health. And I hear so many people that have been to therapy for 2-3 years or more, then they have a gap, and then they say, I already done therapy, why I should go back? But I'm not the same person who I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 30s, and I need different type of support from my therapy. And probably it will be different again when I will be in my 40s and 50s and 60s. But what's important is the consistency. And I realized there has been some episodes in the summer where I touched points of anxiety that I haven't felt in years. And that's the first sign that something is not right in my mental health, and I still need the support of a professional. So that's what made me start it again. But now I go once a month, and let's see, maybe I will increase it or not. Hard to say because I just started again.
I'm called the anti-self-help guy. Do you read self-help books?
It depends. I like to read about therapy, and I like to learn more about my triggers, what we described before. So low self-esteem, imposter syndrome, anxiety. I like to learn about these topics. I like to learn about meditation, even though I know it's not a therapy, professional therapy practice. But I really don't believe in doing self-therapy through articles or even worse, AI, what I heard. So dumping your problems on ChatGPT and then let ChatGPT giving you the diagnosis. So definitely not. I will say when I read about therapy or mental health, I approach it with curiosity because I want to learn more about it. But I don't believe it can substitute professional help. Just like going to the gym and just doing squats because you heard that it's good for your glutes, but you don't know how many, you don't know how much weight you should put, you don't know how many times per week you should do squats. So you go to a personal trainer, right? And you ask the professional, okay, tell me, what do I have to do with this if I want to grow my glutes or whatever? So same, of course, you can read about depression, you can read about anxiety, you can read about imposter syndrome, but what's next? How do you put in practice what you just read? And that's when you need to seek for professional help. Just like, again, when you have the flu or if you are sick, you break your leg, sure, you can read a book about how can I live my life while my leg is broken, but it doesn't substitute the doctor who does the x-ray, who tells you exactly where it's broken, who gives you the cast and tells you what to do. So therapy is the same, I would say, and yeah, helping yourself without the guidance of a therapist, I think it can lead to very severe consequences and maybe even worsening your problems.
Let's talk about impact and the hope that therapy brings you. What feels different in your life now compared to before therapy?
Now I'm much more calm, secure, confident. And if we think about my work, my current job is much more stressful, high pressure, and challenging than my previous role when I started therapy. But yet, I now handle the situations much better. Actually, I always get feedback from my colleagues and my clients that they are impressed how calm, sharp, and confident I am when I have to handle difficult situations at work. Even though, of course, inside I might still have that anxiety, I might still have that self doubt sometimes, imposter syndrome might still be there, but it's something that, okay, it comes to my mind, I acknowledge it, and then somehow I move on. And I remember this is just a thought in my mind.
How have your relationships changed after therapy?
After therapy, my relationships, and here I'm talking about friends, romantic, and family, and at work with my colleagues, they became somehow stronger, deeper, and I feel like I can have a much deeper connection with people. So, yeah.
After therapy, how has the relationship with yourself changed?
Now I wake up calm, like as if I'm in control, I'm confident, I know what I'm doing today. And I am also more kind towards myself. So if I make a mistake or I say something that is wrong or something happened, I don't spiral down anymore. So sometimes it happens, but it's not at the level as it was used to be, that it will ruin my entire week.
Mm.
So now this is something that comes, and maybe I try to make it smaller and smaller and smaller, and I try to fix the problem or move on instead of spiraling down and overthinking about it. So I still struggle sometimes with self-esteem, but I would say I feel more confident. I feel more happy also. I feel like I'm living a very full life, and I don't let anxiety blocking me. I don't let imposter syndrome ruining my career, or not setting boundaries, living the life I want for myself. So, yeah.
What particularly is something that you can do now that you couldn't do before therapy?
Speak up for myself, putting limits with people, and be more gentle and kind towards myself. Before, I remember for me was very difficult to rest, do nothing, and take a day or two to recharge. And now this is something I do regularly to regulate my nervous system, because I learned that otherwise it will lead me to burnout.
Mm.
So now when I see the symptoms of overwhelming feeling coming up, I take a step back. I don't just push through it for the sake of doing it and for the sake of performing.
If you could go back in time and say something to yourself, the person before you had therapy, what would you say?
Interesting question. I will probably tell her that everything will be all right, and you are going to start a difficult journey. At times, it will be very painful, and at times, you will not see the light after the tunnel, but I can assure you, you will make it. And the life that you will be building for yourself, it's much more rich, rewarding, and happy than what you're living right now.
So here comes the next part of the podcast, which is empowering the audience. If somebody listening is interested in therapy and is struggling, can't deal with it, what would you tell them?
If possible, I would advise to talk about it with someone who you trust and be open about it. Be open about what are your barriers before you start therapy. What is it that blocks you? Is it your finance situation? Is it that you are too afraid? You are overwhelmed because you simply cannot choose the right therapist for you? And try to seek advice from someone who has done therapy, and they can give you some tips and guidance. And if you are brave enough, I will advise to just start somewhere. I know it's easier said than done, but you can always come back. You can always start with a therapist, 2, 3 months, 6 months, or even 1 year, and then decide, okay, that was not for me. That was not the right therapist. I didn't feel the chemistry with this professional. So, but it's okay. You can always come back and find another one, or decide, okay, maybe this type of therapy is not for me. Maybe I should seek a professional who's experienced in a different type of therapy.
What's one myth that you discovered during your therapy journey that you would like others to understand?
One myth, definitely, that I thought therapy is a performance. Just like when you go to the gym, again, I do the same comparison, and you go there because you want to perform for your body. But then you realize that going to therapy is just about showing your true self to that professional and work on it together. Just like when you go to the gym, it's not about the performance, it's about learning what's good for your physical body together with a professional. And therapy is learning what's good for your mind and soul together with a professional. It's not a performance. Nobody's expecting you to always have the right answers to the therapist questions, which is something that, yeah, I had to debunk a bit.
To everybody else around you, what does healing from therapy look like?
I get feedback that now I am much more calm. I am more sharp, and I don't let my emotions taking over. I can assess the situation in a very mature way. I can navigate my challenges with a positive attitude, and I feel like I became a much more fun person to be around. That's what my friends and colleagues say, which is good because before I was more like I have to be perfect all of the time. So that's definitely a shift my friends and people around me see. Some people didn't like my new self, and some people don't agree with this way of living, and they are uncomfortable with this new me. But then these are the people that are no longer part of my life because they cannot fit anymore, and that's okay. So yeah, I noticed that the true people are happy for you, and the fake people are not happy to see this new version, this healed version of yourself, because maybe they are the people you were used to say yes all of the time, and now they have to hear a no. So yeah,
And how does that make you feel?
it feels great, to be honest, because then you are surrounded by the right people for you, the people that are aligned with you. I would say majority of my friends have been to therapy. Majority of my friends wants to live a happy life. Majority of my friends are so tired of performing all of the time and doing the right things all of the time. So you start to attract people that are good for you when you're healed. And it feels great also to learn how to filter out the wrong people. So that feels great when you have the power to decide who's in and who's out, and you are confident enough to decide that, and you're not here to please everybody who's in your life, but now the shift probably is this is who I am, and I'm not perfect. I'm still trying to work on myself, but this is who I am. So it's more about, can you fit into my life, and not anymore how do I fit into your life.
So now we're at this time during the podcast of rapid fire questions. So what made you go to therapy?
My relationship issues, my anxiety issues, and this particular time of my life where I was going through a huge career shift. And I thought that I really need a professional help not to struggle with anxiety, imposter syndrome, and low self-esteem.
What was the trigger for going?
A fight with my ex-boyfriend, where he felt like whatever he was doing was never enough for me, and I could only see the negative sides of our relationship. And I noticed that I was applying this mechanism also at work with my friends and with my family. So I thought, I don't want to live a negative life. I want to learn how to see the positive side. So that was my biggest trigger.
What surprised you the most about doing therapy?
How your family is very much involved, and how the environment you grew up with and your family are much involved in shaping who you are and shaping your mental health.
What did you learn about yourself while doing therapy?
I learned that I can make it. I learned that I can go through this. I really can learn how to handle my struggles, and I can definitely live a positive, happy, and fulfilled life.
What was the hardest part about your therapy journey?
It was the realization phase. When I realized the kind of environment I grew up, when I realized which kind of working environment I was, and realizing how can I accept this, and how I remember I was very angry when I realized this. I was angry at my parents. I was angry at my boss and my colleagues for what they were doing to me and what they did to me. So that was the hardest phase I had to go through, the anger, when you realized where all of your issues are coming from.
And how did you apply the shift that you learned in the therapy room?
It took time. It took time. My therapist helped me understanding better my parents. I remember that she asked me, "How did your parents grow up? Do you know how were they when they were your age? When they were children, which kind of children they were? What were your grandparents' educational methods?" And then I started to empathize more with my parents and understand them. And it's always painful when you realize your parents are just humans. They are not the superheroes we look at when we are children. And just like me, they also had a difficult childhood and high school years, and they didn't have the tools to create a healthy and safe emotional space for me?
Here's an interesting question. As somebody on the other side of the table, how do you know when therapy is actually working?
I know when anxiety kicks in. Maybe I receive a message from my clients, maybe I receive an email from my boss, or my friend is upset with me, and I don't have yet all of the information that I need to assess the situation. So that's when anxiety kicks in, and I start to think, oh my God, maybe my client is not happy with me. Oh my God, maybe my boss has to deliver some bad news. Oh my God, I'm not a good friend. So I start to think about this, and then I pause and I say, okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's wait until we know all of the information and we can assess the situation before spiraling down and think of the worst. Because, especially when you're texting, the tone is lost a bit. So a message can seem aggressive or cold, and then maybe I meet my clients via video call and actually everything is fine, they are happy. So I don't let anxiety ruining my day until I have a face-to-face confrontation with this person, or until I know the full context. And then I can decide, or I can objectively say, okay, I fucked up and now I really need to fix this and apologize. Or, well, actually this is not my fault. So no, you know, so that's when I realize, okay, therapy is working, because now I don't spiral down anymore, and I don't let anxiety and self-esteem controlling or ruining my day. Now I acknowledge it, then I say to myself, wait, and most of the times it's nothing serious. So the difference is that now I don't waste my time stressing for nothing or having anxiety all of the time for nothing, but I wait, I move on with my day, I have plenty of things I have to think about. I don't even have time, or I can't let anxiety taking over. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do all of the things I do. And that's when I realize, okay, therapy has worked, and now I handle much better these unknown situations.
As somebody that is not a therapist, but a user of therapy, what's something that you wish everybody knew about therapy?
That it should be crucial part of your life. It should be something that everybody should have access to. It should be something that you don't even question the financial investment, because you need it, it's good for you. So yeah, probably I wish everybody would know how important it is to seek professional help, and I wish we will all be more educated around mental health and the benefits of having therapy.
In your own eyes, what is the reason people wait before seeking actual help or going to therapy?
What I see, if I think about some of my friends or people I encountered that they would like to start, but they are not starting, they are scared, they are afraid. And again, I think probably because they don't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. So I would say it's the fear of the unknown. And a lot of people told me is the fear of feeling judged by a stranger, or they don't feel comfortable talking about their own issues or their own traumas to a stranger. So that's why it's very important to have good chemistry with your professional when you do therapy, to put down those barriers.
What did you learn about vulnerability after seeking therapy? Looking back to what being vulnerable was before.
I learned that it's part of humanity, it's part of yourself, and it's something that people relate to, and it helps you connecting better with people when you're vulnerable, or you learn how to be vulnerable. So yeah.
As somebody that's had therapy, what's one of the biggest misconceptions about healing you can point out?
I think a lot of people have this misconception that the therapist will tell you what to do. The therapist will give you the key to to fixing your problems, and um, it's a lot about switching the responsibility to the therapist, putting a lot of responsibility on the therapist, and then you learn that you are the one who's responsible of this. You are the one who has to do the work. The therapist doesn't have a magic technique that will make your issues go away. It's super important to have good chemistry with your therapist, and it's super important to have the right one for you, but you will have to do majority of the work. Just like in the gym, the personal trainer can give you the best workout program, but you have to do it. You have to show up at the gym and you have to do the exercises. So same with therapy. You have to put a lot of work on this, and I feel like a lot of people are just waiting or hoping that the therapist will just fix your problems, which is a misconception.
After doing therapy, what does emotional safety mean to you?
Emotional safety means for me that you feel safe opening up, that you don't feel judged, you don't feel ashamed, and you are very open to talk about your emotional side. Also, you are aware of your emotional side and attachment style, or love language, or communication style. So you are more aware of who you are under an emotional point of view, and you're not afraid to show your true self.
I know that therapy is tough, but what parts did you enjoy the most about it?
My therapist, she was very friendly. So I remember she was smiling a lot. She would also squeeze in and there some jokes, which made me laugh. So even when I was talking about difficult topics, she will be very happy. She will be very good at not. She will be very good at creating a not too serious environment. So yeah, I remember I enjoyed her jokes a lot, and I enjoyed her friendly tone and friendly style. And I would say I enjoyed seeing the progress together with her. At the beginning, or like mid therapy, she was helping me a lot, noticing progresses. And then, then towards the end, I could see my progress on myself. And that was definitely something I enjoyed, when you see the results on yourself.
Given your therapy journey, in your opinion, what is it about us or yourself that you feared being truly seen?
It depends a lot on which kind of environment do you grow up. When I'm the first child in the family, and I was an unexpected child. And I remember for my parents, I had to be perfect all of the times. That's how they were praising me. That's when I was a good kid. If I was perfect, if I will have good grades, if I could play piano, if I could do two hobbies at the same time already at the age of 5. So that was my life back then since I turned 12. So being perfect all of the time was my way to get love from people, right? So given that, you can understand how terrifying was for me if I had to show my true self and show my struggles and show that I'm not happy in this life, and I'm not perfect. I made a mistake, because too often we get blamed so much when we are children, when we make mistakes. And I remember my parents were very mad and strict when I would not be perfect all of the time. And as a reflection, of course, when I'm a grown-up person, this is my way to get love from people and get the support and get the validation that I'm good, I'm good enough, I'm loved. And so being vulnerable, if you grow up in this kind of environment, which especially many women, I would say, they always have to be the perfect kid. And I feel like little boys are a little bit more justified when they run too fast, or they do not have perfect grades, at least in my family. So that's where it comes for me to be afraid of being vulnerable. When I was a child, there was no space for me to be vulnerable. It was all about performing and being perfect.
So, after therapy, what do you do differently when you feel overwhelmed now?
I stop. I acknowledge that I'm not feeling good now. I'm overwhelmed. Anxiety is kicking in. And I kind of recalibrate myself, saying to myself that no matter what happens, everything will be fine. You are a resilient person. You already proved to yourself that you can navigate different challenges. So you can go through this, which before it was more about spiraling down and not knowing what to do and feeling so overwhelmed. Yeah, and having this bad feeling in my stomach constantly.
If you could be a friend to listeners or viewers that are thinking about having therapy, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that I understand how they feel. I understand that this feels very scary. And I understand it seems very overwhelming to get started. But I'm here for you. So if you need any support, if you need, if you if you want to hear my opinion and you care for my opinion, I can help you. I can support you. And I will tell them, you can do this, and you are the only one who can do this. Not your therapist, not your friends, not your family, but you.
Okay, so now comes the fun questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite self-help book and why?
My favorite self-help book. Okay. There is this book I read whenever I have challenging times in my life. It's called A Real Woman, and it's the story of this little girl from the village, which I relate to, that comes from a poor family and an environment where she has a lot of responsibilities on her shoulder at a young age, which I relate to. And then on her own, she moves to the big city, she builds her life, and she navigates a lot of challenges. And this book is actually staged in the beginning of last century. So we are talking about a time where women barely had the rights to vote. You can imagine starting your own company and empire. So yeah, this is it's not a therapy book. It's just a story, and it's a fictional story. But it helps me reconnecting with myself, and it helps me when I have a challenging time of my life to remember that I can do this. If she did it, I can do it too.
And what's the book called again for the
A,
listeners?
a real woman.
A Real Woman. Oh,
Yeah,
and
from
it's really nice that you bring up a fictional book.
yeah,
Ed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It helps me a lot. I like to read it. I bought it for €1 in Italy 12 years ago. So it was a good return on investment.
So, and finally, the tradition on this podcast is to ask you, what is your go-to daily practice to deal with your anxiety, your imposter syndrome, and your self-esteem challenges that you've had?
Pausing, putting my mind on pause, and saying to myself, let's wait before spiraling down. Let's acknowledge that there is anxiety kicking in, but let's not jump to conclusions now, because we need to first have all of the information about this situation. We need to first know more before we can draw conclusions, and before we start blaming ourselves and doubt ourselves and think that we are not enough. So I would say majority of the times when my triggers come is when I don't know. This situation is unknown. I never faced it before. I don't have all of the information. So then that's when I pause and I go find the information I need to recalibrate myself. This is what helps me daily, I would say.
Chiara, I thank you most of all for your courage to
Thank
come
you.
onto the podcast. Not many people would, I mean, not many people have the courage to actually go to therapy, much less talk about it. So I'm really honored and grateful for that. So Chiara is the first person that has come onto our show to actually talk about those therapy experiences. If you are a listener and would like to talk about your therapy or coaching journey, please do just ping us a message in the comments down below, and maybe we can have a nice chat as well. So, Chiara, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
yeah, great.
Thank you.